Okay, recording's moving.
Yes, it was.
It is 7 p.m. on Tuesday, May 26th, 2020, and we are going to open the administrative board meeting. Will you do a roll call, please?
Yep. I have trustees Chris Samples,
Here.
John Talbot,
Here.
William Luxinger,
Here.
Dina Simpson is absent, Jen Christensen,
Here.
Jared Jones,
Here.
President Rick Worm,
Here.
Treasurer Brenda Onabany,
Here.
telephonically, I-Clerk Sandy Monson here, Attorney Dan Boland,
Here.
Engineer Matt Hanson. He's here via Zoom. I don't think we've got any audio on Matt.
We can see him.
Yeah.
Can he see us?
Yes.
Text him.
Oh,
Hang on, maybe this is him. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
oh,
Matt?
all right.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay.
Just in time for roll call, Engineer Matt Hanson.
Matt?
He's working on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Here he goes. Public Works Supervisor Brett Fergie.
Here.
Park Supervisor Nathan Hill is here as well.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to allow Dina to attend remotely.
I'll make a motion to allow Dina Simpson to attend remotely.
Second.
Jen makes a motion to allow Dina to attend remotely due to the COVID. John seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 703. All right, so in accordance with the governor's mandate, we are still allowing people to attend remotely due to the COVID-19 outbreak, and so Dina is not here for that reason. Everybody else is scattered about the room, still keeping the social distancing the best we can. So we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Tonight for approval on the consent agenda.
Wait, I'm sorry, did you call Dina?
Oh, Dina?
Here.
What time is it?
7:03.
It must be that 3-day weekend. All right, now you ready for consent agenda items?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, tonight for approval on the consent agenda is item number 1, the April 28th, 2020 Administrative Board Minutes. Number 2, the bills payable warrant list dated May 26th, 2020. And number 3 is resolution number 20-35, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of laboratory professional services agreement with PDC Laboratories, Inc.
At this time, do any of the trustees wish to remove any of the items from the consent agenda for further review? Not hearing any. Let's have a motion to approve.
I move to place agenda items 1, 2, and 3 inclusively as consent agenda items. Further, I move that all items be considered together as a consent agenda.
Second.
So Jen makes a motion to include items 1 through 3 inclusively as the consent agenda. Jared seconds. Roll call.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
John?
Here.
Dina?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
William?
Yes. Motion passes 705. Second motion.
I move to adopt items 1, 2, and 3 inclusively on the consent agenda in a single group pursuant to the omnibus vote procedure specified in the Illinois Municipal Code.
Second.
Jen makes a motion to include items 1 through 3. I forgot the words.
For
Ms.
approval?
What's that?
For approval?
Yes. Should have my notes out. Inclusively as the consent agenda. We'll just do it that way.
You ready?
Who seconded?
I did.
Jared.
Jared seconds. Roll call, please.
Jared?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
William?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
All right.
Motion passes 705. There were no items removed for further consideration. The outdoor dining permit. So, last week, I heard a thing where some towns were looking at shutting down streets. I heard it on the news. So I called William, got his thoughts on it. I started calling all the trustees individually to find out what their thoughts were. Unfortunately, I did not get to John or Chris, so hopefully you read your packets and got the gist of it. Sounds like Chris did. I haven't had a chance to speak with John, but all we're after is they're gonna have to follow the CDC guidelines. They will still have to follow the State Liquor Commission guidelines. I know Dan was working on putting together a letter that we could send to them. It's effectively the same thing we're offering the coffee guy, which is a temporary zoning waiver permit to where they could expand, some more seating out into their parking lot in front of their buildings. We asked them to put together a sketch of what they would like to see. But again, the only thing we're offering them is an opportunity for more seating, and then the opportunity to use, some of the village's barricades to help keep, cars and pedestrians or cars and diners separated, so they're not out spending additional monies on, temporary fencing, which we know is very, very expensive. But it will give them an opportunity to seat more people at their buildings or their businesses when the, some of the restrictions rise this Friday, or lift this Friday. So that's what that was, is,
Would you like Dan to explain what's in the ordinance? 'Cause
Definitely.
there's actually 2 attachments to that as well.
Thanks. Thank you, Rick. The ordinance is authorizing Sandy to help, and village staff and the liquor commissioner to help process these permits in an expedited manner, and help grant whatever limited temporary relief they need, consistent with the terms of the ordinance, in order to implement the extraordinary relief that is going to that might be necessary to take advantage of the relief granted in the forthcoming executive order that the governor's expected to sign on Friday to allow this outdoor dining and drinking activity. It's in an ordinance form to help acknowledge the emergency nature of these conditions and give further support to these local approvals that are being granted. As you might have seen over the weekend, the state just released their guidance for this activity on Sunday, so this is moving very quickly, which is why we're asking for why this didn't appear in your packets before. So this is like many things with COVID response, it's moving rapidly, but this will give the liquor commissioner and village staff what they need to help facilitate the outdoor dining and drinking activity for these restaurants that in their sidewalks, parking lots, streets if necessary. We don't expect it, but happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Sorry, I have one. It terminates when the governor terminates the whole thing? Is that how that works? Or opens up the restaurants?
Right. So,
No?
right. So the way that the ordinance is drafted is that it's when on premises dining resumes. It's not tied to any particular phase, as you've already seen. The Restore Illinois plan has 5 phases. The outdoor dining and drinking was only recently made part of phase 3 of an announcement that was made, I think, last Wednesday. So this is tied to grant limited relief during the time that they're not allowed to have on-premises consumption of food and beverage. So right now they can do carry out and pickup, the restaurants and bars. They will be allowed to have this outdoor dining activity during the time that they don't have on-premises consumption of food and beverage. Should the village want to grant further relief, we could take that up another time.
Any questions? Okay, I can't make a motion.
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 20-07, an ordinance approving outdoor dining permits.
Second.
Dina makes a motion to approve ordinance number 20-07, Jen seconds. Can you do roll call, please? All right, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna vote no, because I think that we should extend it past them opening, that we should, if you can go dine in, why not?
I think that the liquor issue comes into effect at that point. Dan might be able to correct me, but I don't think that we can extend the exterior dining with the alcohol past the relief that the state is granting us.
Well,
or
if the state only
granting
opens
them.
up 25% of the restaurant and they can get more of the outside, then I see no point in restricting that if that's legally.
That's just it, as long as the restrictions are in place, this stays in effect. It's not
Yeah.
until they open back up fully.
No, that's not what he said. He said when they could eat inside. And if they open up at 25% inside,
Well, they'll be able to open up 25% this Friday.
Dan?
I don't think so.
I thought it was 50%.
No.
No.
No,
It's only out.
It's, some,
no,
I know.
Only outdoor?
right.
Dan, clarify this for me, please. My understanding is that we will have this in effect until the state says we can no longer have it in effect, because there are agencies granting relief outside of their normal restrictions, and so that's allowing us to do this.
Right, we know what the executive order, or we know what we expect the executive order is gonna say, on Friday. And that it is gonna allow this during the next phase, it's gonna allow this outdoor dining. There's nothing stopping the governor from issuing further relief or from allowing on-premises limited capacity consumption earlier. And there's nothing stopping the village from granting that further relief. If there's interest to grant that relief now, for a longer period of time, I suppose we could do that. I think the intent was to keep this limited temporary relief based on the conditions that we know today. I expect the communities will revisit this as conditions change over the next month or more.
I was not saying that to sway your vote. I was saying that simply
That's
that
not my
it-
thing is, I just don't wanna do this every 2 weeks or every month, come in and adjust this, because when we can say until they're open 100%, they can have their relief. And unless the state is barring that, then I think that's the move we should make.
I think we
I'm
are
not
all-
opposed to this, I'm really not. I just want them to have a relief, additional relief,
Yes.
until they have a chance to get open up substantially, because if the state says, okay, next month or 2 weeks from now, you can open up 25%, well, that's just 25%. And until they get to a place where they can run their normal business, I see no point in taking this away.
I think that we are gonna have to
We're gonna have to revisit it as new, go ahead, Dan.
he's raising his hand. That's cute.
Sure, and these are helpful comments, and they weren't addressed before because this was not taken up at the committee level and discussed. This is the first time we're all talking about this here tonight because this is moving so quickly. If you care to amend, you could amend the ordinance tonight and make a motion to amend to grant that additional relief and pass the ordinance as amended, and direct the village attorney to make the appropriate amendments to reflect the motion you're making tonight. But I'm sure the chair will let you know that there's a motion to approve on the floor. If you want to make and there's discussion on it, if you want to make a motion to amend the ordinance, somebody would have to make a motion.
Can we make the motion to amend without withdrawing the first motion?
It's kind of a subsidiary motion. You could do it either way.
But you can amend it,
Or,
Dan. Would the amendment to the ordinance then
Yeah.
be, a motion to amend the language that, 100% of the indoor restaurant would need to be open?
Doesn't have to be 100, it can be 75, but I'm just
Whatever
saying.
percentage you
Yes,
want.
whatever, I'm just saying.
So you can make that
Right.
motion to amend it, we can get the second on that, then we can do the approve it as amended.
So do we wanna leave this option
Mhm.
open until they have 100% or 75? Anybody?
I'm comfortable with
So I
that.
think if we're amending it and taking the time to do that, I think it's pointless to do 75, might as well go 100.
All right, then I'd like to make a motion to amend this ordinance
And direct the
to,
attorneys,
we'll say that again?
and direct the attorneys to
And
make.
direct the attorneys to amend the ordinance to, continue their relief until restaurants are allowed to be open 100%.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Is there any further discussion?
By doing this, we won't violate our own liquor control ordinance?
Did you hear that, Dan?
Because the liquor control
right,
people
so
are doing this
this
with
would,
the governor.
this would give the liquor commissioner the authority to extend the permits to the approved outdoor areas.
I think that's why the ordinance has Rick and I working in conjunction, so him as liquor commissioner, me as village staff.
Any further discussion?
But we're not giving them any additional, rights to serve liquor than they would if their
But the
business
state's
is open.
defined what they have to do to have outdoor seating?
Yes, and we have to follow that,
We have to follow the liquor commission, we have to follow the CDC guidelines,
yes,
or the restaurants will.
yes.
We're not gonna step on that.
Are those restrictions already published, and can our business operate within those current restrictions?
So, Dan, William had asked if the restrictions are already published and can the businesses operate within those restrictions. Dan and I, have been talking nonstop. Over the weekend, the state, the DCEO, put out the guidelines for restaurants. I believe the only one state agency we haven't seen guidelines from is the Liquor Commission, correct? Dan?
I didn't catch, all that you said, Sandy, but yes, they'll have to comply with guidance from DCEO and the Liquor Control Commission should they issue, further guidance.
Yeah.
So you said the liquor control commission has not issued any guidance yet?
Yeah.
Not yet, but, I think this is, many restaurants have, outdoor areas and the, liquor commissioners can extend the licensed premises to include them. And they need to comply with the general, liquor control requirements.
Dan, so I know you can't see me, but my only concern is that, I think every business that we have in town, in order to operate within those restrictions, need additional parameters from the village, from the state, and from their landlords, to operate outside of their physical structure as an outdoor seating format or in their parking lots. And I already know two of the three that use a liquor license, have special use permits regarding parking restrictions and everything else. And the third operates from a lease from a tenant that I don't know if they're gonna be willing to accommodate them. Go ahead, Dan.
Sure, go ahead.
No, I'm,
Basically, if they can't meet the requirements, then they won't be able to do it. If their landlord says no, then they're done. If they can't meet the state requirements, they won't be able to do it.
okay, I mean, I'll play the fool here. I guess I don't know the state requirements as a whole. What are they? But I'm not willing to vote on something that I'm not fully aware of. I don't know what the state requirements are.
Daniel? Guidelines?
In terms of the DCEO guidelines, I think one of the main concerns that, William expressed was about owner consent, which the ordinance provides as a requirement for this local permit to use the outdoor area. And to your point, the ordinance acknowledges that there's generally prevailing parking and other requirements, and that's why we're adopting an ordinance to acknowledge that there's an emergency and that we're granting temporary relief during that period of time, for that limited period of time, under those conditions, including owner consent, compliance with the state guidelines, which could change. And so this is meant to be a nimble vehicle to help facilitate outdoor dining and drinking.
With our governor, it could change tomorrow.
Probably will.
All right.
But this is at least us trying to give them some relief.
That's all we're trying to do, is give them the ability to, when the governor allows them to open, to help them get more business into their businesses. Because this has done a number on small business.
I don't disagree with that, but I know I sat on this board, on this, elevated platform, and argued many times against outdoor seating because it doesn't meet the guidelines and requirements. And I know there's a business here that has tried to create an outdoor environment without meeting the life safety and fire code. And I do know that all of the businesses that do have a liquor license, none of them meet the outdoor requirements for a beer garden or outdoor seating or anything like that. So what is the parameters that we're waiving here? I mean,
Well,
It's temporary relief of what restricts them from having it.
and it wouldn't be us waiving it, it's the state more than us. We're just
no,
allowing them to
it's
do it.
us, because
us.
we have we're the authority here. at the
But
end of the
all
day.
we're doing is right now, they're not allowed to. So that's why they don't have it. What we're doing is giving them a temporary waiver on this, similar to what we give the coffee guy. He's in zoning, he's actually in violation of the zoning as well.
I
So
understand.
we're offering them as a temporary relief that they can actually, hopefully, keep their businesses open in Davis Junction.
And I'm not opposed to that by any means. However, okay, here's an example. There is a business that tried to establish outdoor seating, and they used a labeled fire exit to allow outdoor drinking, smoking, and everything else into a very confined area, which is against life safety and fire code because there is no means of egress from a confined area outdoors.
Correct.
How are we mitigating that, or how are we allowing that?
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
With regard to that particular, tenant, they are not, or that
I think
particular.
what, let's let Dan go real quick. Go ahead, Dan.
They won't be able to.
Thank you, Rick. To answer William's question, I think if you look at section 2 of the ordinance, we're not waiving life safety, fire, building code requirements. The only things that are regarding minimum parking spaces, use of the public right of way, and consumption of alcoholic liquors in outdoor seating areas. So this is not a free-for-all by any means. Those are just the most
I understand that.
the most common barriers
I understand that. So does that mean that we're gonna
to
allow,
outdoor dining areas.
we're gonna allow people to operate in a unconfined parking area now?
No, they need to submit plans and for approval.
The plans that I have seen so far are actually for the business in which you are discussing, and they are not planning on using that patio space. They are looking to move to the front of the building, not the back,
And
because I also had that same concern.
I fully have rashed this thought out in my mind of all the businesses that use liquor license, and I truly believe that all of them could use this ordinance and this new expansion to a benefit, if they were to do it correctly. And I do like the concept that they each submit a plan that, clearly states how they wish to operate and be within the parameters of our ordinance and our current expansions. I mean, I like that concept, but I don't want to waive our rights to life safety and fire code or, just a free-for-all of ignoring the parameters of our liquor control. So, I mean, if that's the case, I'm all for it. I do support the businesses. I want them to make a buck any way they can here, and,
Well, and you still got two out of three of them have to go to a landlord to get permission.
yeah, agreed.
So, I mean, it's, I don't know where they stand on that, but we're requiring that as well, so.
Okay, that answers my question.
And all the plans that I receive will also be going through Dan Boland to confirm that they comply with everything we set for.
We
And
need to-
just so I'm clear, when they do submit a plan that is contrary to our ordinances or whatever else, we're not gonna subject them to a delay of going to the planning and zoning or anything else. This is gonna be just a straight submit a plan, and it's either approval by the liquor commission, or is it going to the board for approval?
It goes to me.
Goes,
It's going to Dan so he can take a look at it, and then we will approve it, the staff and, the
we
staff,
as in,
Me.
staff and liquor commission.
sounds good.
Yeah, no, it says the village clerk and the liquor commissioner will do it so that we can
But
knock it out
it
quick.
was one of those things too, is once we
Okay.
have a plan established, when we have our inspector out, we can actually have them double check that they're staying in compliance.
Okay.
Who's paying the fees for the attorney, the business owner? Or are we eating it? Because Danny ain't gonna look at it for free.
Village of
Hey,
Davis
here's
Junction.
John.
Huh?
He wants to know who's paying the attorney's fees, whether it's the business owners or the village.
At this moment, it's the Village of Davis Junction.
I'm okay with that.
I am too. That's why we offered up our barricades. Again, we know how expensive temporary fencing is, and now that we've extended it even longer, Brett's gonna keep backing up for spares for us.
This is also for village residents as much as it
It
is
is.
for the businesses.
People
can
are
get out
getting a
and
little
use-
stir crazy.
They are. If they're not, I am, and
There is still a motion to amend on the table.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm aware. We have a motion and a second, an amended motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? So the motion will be, when we vote, will be to vote on the ordinance as amended to
No.
100%.
Now, there is a motion on the table to amend the ordinance, so
Okay.
we've got to go through that motion first.
Then we go to the first motion.
Yes,
All right. Clarification has been had. So the motion we're gonna be voting on is to amend the original motion to allow them to have this until we're back at 100% capacity of indoor seating.
yes,
And that's been seconded.
That
yes.
has been seconded.
Sounds good.
Ready for
If
a
there's
roll?
no further discussion, we'll go to roll call.
John,
Yes.
Dina,
Yes,
Chris,
yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes. You see how discussion took a no to a yes. That's beautiful.
and then now to the motion.
Now, we'll go to the original motion as amended.
Ready?
Yes.
Dina,
yes,
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Nicely done.
Motion's pass at 7:30. We will let you guys know as things come through. I'm sure Sandy will send out the information of the approved plans, so everybody will be aware of what they are. Right? Oh, wonderful. That way, if anybody sees stuff out of the norm, that's absolutely true. I would be happy to take those calls. On to Sandy.
The only thing I have tonight, I'm actually going to postpone until next week, so I can put some stuff in the packet for you guys.
All right. Brenda?
I don't really, we're working on the budget again tomorrow, and I'm working on getting all the baseball refunds. Taking a little while, 'cause there's 400 of them or so, so that's in the process right now. And that's really all I have.
All right, we'll move on to committees, and Jen?
I have on here discussion on movie sponsorships. I have been approached by a business who would like to sponsor one of our movies, but I'm still going back and forth trying to figure out what they're looking for in a sponsor. I don't know if it's monetary. I'm not sure. But, I was just bringing this to discuss with you guys how you feel about it. I thought it was a great idea, a way to get our businesses involved. but,
Hey, Jen,
yes,
just quick question. So like if a business tries to sponsor the movies and whatnot, which again, I think that's a pretty cool idea, are there things that they're like looking to get from us, like in return, like banners or anything? Like what kind of would they be looking for from us? I would assume there'd be something, or whether we're just putting out stuff on Facebook and so forth. Do you have thoughts on that?
I would assume it's, you know, they want their name to be in it or sponsored by. I would assume like a sponsored by, you know, movie in the park is brought to you by, you know, whoever. I'm
Okay.
still been in this discussion phase of, with emails and stuff, so, but,
I think we've had this conversation in the past,
Once,
and,
you just can't do it.
I love the idea that the businesses want to get engaged. I think, so I'm gonna do a two-phase here. The movies have been a village function for many, many years, and I'd prefer to keep it that way. If a village, or if a business wants to sponsor a movie, I don't disagree that it's not a fantastic idea. I would steer them towards the idea that they fill out a special use permit and that they contact the filming company directly and schedule a separate viewing versus the ones that we schedule as a village that we've been doing for many, many years now. I wouldn't want to start, I don't even know the term. I don't want to start profiting or selling our rights as an event that we've been doing for many years. If they want to spearhead one, and we can give them all the contacts, and if they want to fill out a special use permit and get the company on their own terms, I got no problem doing that.
I think it also prevents if you have a weather issue on the date of their sponsored movie,
I love the idea, but I don't think it.
I don't know exactly what they're looking for, because she hasn't answered any of some of the stuff I've asked. But, I don't think it's a bad idea. I just don't think they understand how much it costs.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
And like the red tape that we, you know, have to go through.
maybe you should lead with that.
Right, that's why
This is what it costs.
Agreed.
Did they say they wanted to pay for the whole thing, or just be a sponsor and pay some?
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out, you know.
I don't have
if
an
it's-
issue if somebody wants to contribute
I
their name on
was
on a
even,
Well, we've always avoided stuff like that with when we put out the rail, we always avoided having advertisements in the rail, because we never wanted to show any kind of favoritism towards one business or another, or one group or another.
The position was, we didn't want to allow John and Davis's burger joint to start, and then we needed John Davis's liquor to, if we open up for one, we're obligated to open up for
and
all.
not, and not
And
every.
we didn't want to promote a business that
right,
was
and
not
every business has the
wholesome,
monetary
correct. So,
surplus to.
I think the
be able to do
benefit
that.
here
Greg?
would be to
Yes.
allow,
I do think that once upon a time, the village did adopt an advertising policy for the parks, to help manage those very issues that you were talking about in terms of, managing, First Amendment, public forum, and, excluding,
Can you?
or making sure that the advertising is government speech and to protect the village when it,
Can you find that and
does,
send it to me?
accept advertising.
Nate is here and might be able to correct me, but I believe that park advertising policy is limited to the baseball fields. Like banners? Yeah, it's limited for banners on the back, on
That's what
the
the
out,
movie is.
it's limited to banners on the outfield of the
Okay.
baseball
I
field.
thought it was parks in general.
I guess I could double check it, but
If
Yeah.
it applies, send it to Jen, so she'll have the
I'll just
guidelines.
send it to Jen, she can read it.
Right.
Hey, hey, you get up.
You were encouraging him. You were, if I'm wrong, he can correct me, even though he doesn't have a mic.
No, I'll send Jen the park advertising policy that we currently have in existence, and she can see if that'll help at all.
Good nerd.
And the other thing I have is, the farmer's market. because of the new stipulations that the state governor's putting out there.
They'll arrest you if you garden.
Well, no, one of the things that I read was that you can't eat at the farmer's market now. You can't eat food. You can't,
Oh, no.
something, and, I mean, this could be wrong, but some of the stuff, and I don't know if it's specific markets or certain things, but I read where you can't eat at the market because of COVID. You can't, walk in the booth, you can't touch things. Well, how are you supposed to purchase something if you can't touch it? Guidelines.
I saw him turn and start looking at his computers. I knew he was typing something.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to pull up an answer on the fly. I don't expect it, but I do know communities are moving forward with their farmers markets this summer. But there is gonna be state guidance on how those run. I've not had the opportunity to review the guidance that came out on Sunday as applied to farmers markets, but that would be something to I sent that guidance to Sandy and Rick, I believe, on Sunday. That'd be something to check to see what makes sense and what actually does apply. And again, that's just for phase 3 is that guidance which is expected to last, if all goes well, it could be into phase 4 at the end of June. So, this is, changing all the time. So, but, yes, do consult that state guidance.
I do know from another town's farmer's market, they have put on their Facebook page that the Ogle County Health Department and Illinois Farmers Market Association have been consulted to ensure a safe and healthy 2020 season.
I've
So,
heard.
I don't know if they have their own guidelines out there, Ogle County.
I have received several emails from Ogle County with guidelines,
Okay.
but I have not seen anything for farmers market, but I can email them back and ask them what
this
they've
is the
got.
Farmers Market Association.
Yeah, that I don't know anything about, but Ogle County I've been in contact with, so I'll just email him back and ask him what there is for farmers market for you.
Get a hold of them, if I tell you. But that is all I have.
Can I hijack real quick? You had mentioned the rail.
Yes.
Just so everybody knows, there was no rail this past spring. We'll see how it goes for summer. It's time consuming, and I don't.
You had anything to put in it?
I have lots of articles that we would like to put in it. It's just coming down to time at this. I mean, since we've gone into these restrictions, I've processed probably 25 building permits at this point, maybe 30, and so it's time consuming to do the rail, and as we are also short-staffed, I just don't have the time at the moment. So hopefully, as I get back in the office and things can move quicker, we'll get back to that. But
Speaking of that, are we gonna hire any summer help?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, summer
Summer help? Yeah, I just didn't know.
for the office.
No, I'd actually had a couple of people ask me that I gave,
Park Streets?
sorry, Nate, I gave out your email address so people can contact you, because if they had applied for a position or something, I'm like,
Nate, do you want to respond to that?
With a microphone.
Yeah, I did respond to them. Currently, with the level of lack of usage, we're not able to rehire back the high level. So we basically went off primarily seniority and interviews. So there were several individuals who've been here many seasons, and so I only hired back 4.
I just didn't know what you guys
And
were
then,
doing, so.
You know, Fergie's looking for somebody, and I don't know about the administrative position, but that's where we are with parks. So we're gonna mow and
Okay.
maintain.
Brenda and I are hopeful to be able to hire somebody by and have them start end of July would be our goal. It's unfortunate that the restrictions are what they are. It's difficult to train somebody in the current circumstances. I know that was also part of the reason that Nate went with returning employees, is because he doesn't have to be in close proximity to train them, because most of them come pre-trained. So, eventually. Did you want to add on to that? Okay.
Okay. Are we gonna be mosquito spraying? Throw that in there too.
Yeah, we got the permit and just need to get the machine calibrated.
He just shook his head. I'm done.
All right. Moving, William?
I do not believe we have any emergency expenditures. Brenda? I said no, she's muted.
Brenda?
He's like, what?
Brenda?
No. I'm
Yes?
moving on.
Do we have any emergency expenditures?
We do not.
Other thing is the discussion and possible approval of Resolution 20-36, resolution approving and authorizing execution of an engagement letter between Sikich Independent Audit Services. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, we entered into a multi-year tentative agreement with them when we changed from Whipple last year to do our auditing services. The first year was a little more expensive, and the reoccurring years were cheaper as we continue. But this is just an engagement letter to continue this year, which I'm in favor of. Any questions? I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 20-36, a resolution. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 20-36, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of an agreement letter from Sikich for independent audit services.
Engagement.
William makes a motion to approve resolution number 20-36. John seconds. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Sorry.
William?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion passes 744.
Other thing I wanted to add that's not on the agenda, there's been, last week, Rick, you were not here, we fielded a resident question, and it's been further continued, but it did bring up one valid point, that this village and this board has always taken a stance that we do not or feel that we are not prepared for a police department or any format of it. In that response, someone stated that we've never fielded the opinion of the residents, and I can't disagree with that. So I would bring to the board that I think we should, in the next election, offer a non-binding referendum question. Maybe one or two questions. One, do the residents feel that it is time for this village to acquire a police department? And then the second question is, if so, are they willing to increase their taxes X amount of dollars to sustain it?
Well, and we could put out...
Because we've never put that out to the residents as a whole.
We can put it out as different levels, too.
What's that?
We can put it out as different levels, too.
Correct.
Whether it's buybacks, part-time department,
Correct.
full-time department, so we could put out different monetary values of what they like.
We've always taken the position that many residents have contacted board members, and myself included. I fielded statements or concerns from residents that they didn't want it. And then we've took that very minute or micro level opinion and made those decisions as a board. However, we've never actually, from my understanding in the past 10 years, put it to a referendum question. And it's not overly expensive to do. And I think we're probably at that point where we probably should put that out there for the majority of the residents to offer their opinion, whether they want it, B, do they want to sustain a tax increase, or like you said, what level do they want it? We
Right.
can offer that multi-stage question
I mean,
to
yeah,
the residents.
because you could have Jared left at 7:48. just, you could have a multi-choice on there, basically saying,
Correct.
I would like option, you know, A or
Correct.
option B or option C, but we'd have to put out the information, obviously, educate them before.
Yes.
'Cause I just had this conversation with a resident over the weekend about the ATVs, and, you know, she was very adamant about, that, thinking we should have a police department. Once we started discussing numbers,
Right.
I
don't
usually
think-
that attitude changes, because we were talking $950
Right.
for a full-blown police
I
department.
don't think we steer the question to a specific cause or problem,
Right.
but the resident I did talk to, they brought up a valid concern. I don't believe that we've ever actually engaged the community in this question as a
Correct.
whole. Now, granted, we did put out questionnaires or feelers, and they did contact board members. A small, minute, did respond. But Sandy might know more than I do. What's the cost to do a non-binding referendum question with the county? I didn't think so.
We'll find out.
It's gotta be very small in comparison to what we do.
I can't,
Dan's got it lined up.
Dan?
Dan does? Okay.
Yeah, I think you need to adopt an ordinance or a resolution. I think the deadline's typically in December.
Sure.
There's a rule of three. The first three referendum questions, get on the ballot. There's a non-binding procedure in the election code, and the cost, to the village, I don't know if the county, I don't think the county, charges the village for, putting on that question. It's just part of their, election administration duties. But, in terms of, the expense, you know, the information and whatever, advertising and of letting people, not encouraging people to vote one way or the other, but, letting people know that there's a question on the ballot. That would be the expense. The alternative is, there's any number of, public engagement, or survey firms that, might complete a combination of online or other engagement, avenues to help the village evaluate, their needs for a police department or other matters.
This is just my,
I can tell you that I wouldn't be in favor of a referendum. I think that it's easy to vote yes on a referendum that I want the police department, but without people knowing more about it, then
so,
I find
exactly,
it.
That's why we have to educate.
That's why you do a multi-question. What,
You can't
first
put
question,
you can't put multiple questions on a referendum.
Yes,
I
you
mean,
can.
you just
I've
said the rule of
answered.
three. You're not gonna get two is this for all municipalities? They're not gonna.
No, but you could have
No,
multiple,
it's
you
only
could have
for
multiple
Davis
answers
Township
on your
residents.
Why
question.
not just do a survey monkey or whatever
it's
you
not the
wanna
same.
do?
I promise you, it's
You-
not the
you-
same
you
response.
have to do that.
We've done it. It's not the same.
We get nothing back.
Did
Nothing
Dan
valid.
recommended in his response, not recommended, Dan stated in his response that there are, companies out there that do surveys and would reach out to each resident and follow up with them if they hadn't received a response and might be able to give more information. Would anybody be interested in finding out what that cost would be?
I think that would be more expensive than a non-binding referendum question, because Dan's correct. The county is obligated, if we pass an ordinance and a resolution legitimately, they have an obligation to put it on the ballot for the residents of Davis Junction, no matter if it's one or two questions. And
I know.
I've been a part of referendums through my employer that are multi-question and non-binding, and they're not that expensive versus hiring a company. So I know Dan has a,
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, William, and Rick. The questions on the ballot need to be yes/no questions.
Correct.
And, they will be, they gotta comply with the rule of three. So, a survey firm could, ask more expensive questions and delve into, the topic further. But to your point, would be, possibly have a greater expense than, a non-binding referendum effort.
are you saying we could have 3 questions on, or 3
That
for
would
the
be
whole?
that would be unusual. I think it's anybody's, is 3. They limit the access to the ballot, so that it's, doesn't get unwieldy.
Sandy, find out what it would cost. Can't hurt to know.
Remember,
Right, but Dan, you're stating
Survey, company.
it's a limit of 3 non-binding
Well,
to our residents, so not as to the county as a whole, just what the Davis Junction residents would be subject
Right.
to on their ballot.
right.
So, we could easily do a, question 1, do you think the village is in need of a police department? Yes or no? Question 2, would you support a tax increase of X amount of dollars to sustain a police department? Simple as that. That's 2 questions.
well, I'm confused, I'm really confused, but to me, the first thing that comes in my mind is, what is this gonna cost? I mean, I think,
What is what, the police department or the
I mean, I
question?
really think the village's due diligence there is to, in a way like we did with a comprehensive plan or whatever you wanna do, spell out what we're looking to do and what it's gonna cost to do, because just to say, hey, do you want a police department?
Well,
or-
no, we'd have to
I
have
mean,
the
you have to have
information.
some costs, and you have to give people a general
So-
idea where, and you have to be honest with them and say, hey, it isn't gonna stay here, it's gonna go up and away.
So,
And personally, for ATVs being, I mean, you got 2 or 3 big ticket items out here, and to me, the cost to have a police department for two big ticket items is a little ridiculous.
Well, that's
over the
one
weekend-
person of 26,600
Okay, but I mean, we
plus
have
residents.
2,650, we have 2,600, we have 2,600 plus residents.
22,600.
Now, I've listened to everybody else, so if I could just speak.
Sorry.
We have 2,600 plus residents, and we got, collectively 5% that are speaking up over an ATV. We do this every time. Someone always hears a resident, singular, that has an issue, and we take this half a dozen people and we make, let's just put it out there. We don't gotta keep hashing
I'm
it
not
for
bringing this
another hour.
topic up due to ATV.
I'm just saying we don't
No.
have to hash
You-
it for an
you're-
hour. Let's.
You're bringing a topic up for a specific cause
Well, we've
that
had
is the
multiple
flavor of
things.
the week, but
We've had
I'm not.
multiple things in the past with vandalism, other
Home
items.
break-ins,
Right.
vandalism, speeding, ATVs,
So-
ordinance violations, there's
I
a
mean, how
number
many
of
times do you
things.
see the stop sign running on, for people? So, there's been
Hey,
multiple
Rick?
things. Yes, ma'am.
I apologize for interrupting. I just want to make sure that as everybody's talking, that I'm just clarifying for sure what William is saying. William, if I understand correctly, you're just saying basically putting on there, a question that everybody could vote as to find out whether or not, whether they're wanting a police department and if they're willing to pay for it. And that's basically what you're wanting to find out, correct?
That's pretty much all I wanna know, is how does the residents of this community want this board to proceed? Yes.
So,
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for
A
clarifying.
non-binding referendum question, there is no definitive result, action from their vote. It either
There's
is,
no money, there's no money attached to it, there's no
Correct.
tax hike. It's just finding out what do they want, and then we
Yes.
move forward from there and find out.
correct. That's my concern, and that came up from a resident, and that was their question, and I can't disagree with them, because there's 7 of us, only 6 of us are voting members, unless there's a tie, and that person was correct. To my knowledge, we never physically asked the residents what they want. So that's my only position at this point.
to John's question about numbers, Sandy and I have been
Oh,
discussing
we've done
this
those
with
before.
the town of Cortland, and Cookie, who is she is also the, clerk for the Northern Illinois Mayors Association. Recently, the reason Cookie came in is because she has access to a whole bunch of clerks really quick that are also right in our area. Plus, they have a police department, which their budget is about $600,000. She was gonna send the information to Sandy, but they have a full-blown police department. And she couldn't answer, though, whether that included housing costs at the county, or if that's included, the county has to give them that, or if there's a cost, so she didn't know. She was gonna look into some more details. But beyond that, there was recently somebody, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy, somebody that was at one of your clerks' meetings who is an authority on starting police
Yes.
departments.
He is the Illinois State Training Board. He sits on that for the Southern Illinois District.
So there's somebody out there that we could reach out to find out what levels are available, what kind of costs we could look to incur with those, what we need, what we don't need.
What I mean, 10 years ago when I sat in this board and I got elected, what I was told was, we don't need a full-time police chief, we don't need a full-time police officer, and we don't need to pay for pension details. And all of those were wrong. We're not obligated to hire a full-time police chief. That's a misnomer. You can hire a part-time person.
Yes.
You do not need to hire a full-time police officer. That is a wrong statement as well.
That is true.
And they do not need to participate in a Article III downstate police pension unless they're full-time.
That's why they do the
The
part-time.
only thing we did find out is you cannot have a part-time chief and a full-time officer.
You have to have a,
Yes.
yeah,
You have to, it has to stay part-time, part-time,
The,
or you have to bring the chief on full-time.
the only thing that became a population kicker or threshold was once you reach a population of 5,000 or above, we are obligated to have a police and fire, board of trustees. And even if you don't have a full-time employee,
Right.
full-time police member,
You still have to have the,
you need to establish them. But we are not obligated to have a full-time police chief, a full-time police officer, or anything. They can all be hired part-time. You can have a part-time police chief. The Village of Pingree Grove has a part-time police chief, or they did, I don't know what they do.
and that person can also be out patrolling, they don't have to
Correct,
do
absolutely
administrative.
correct. And we do not need to build a police station.
Nope.
We do not need to have a jail, you
Nope.
know? So those are all misnomers that were fed to me early on. And I'm not trying to advocate one way or another.
The only thing we have to provide is the vehicle,
Yes.
Okay,
and the, obviously radios, equipment, stuff like
Correct.
that.
So, I mean, that, when this resident contacted me, that, they brought a very valid point that we never physically asked the residents what they want, or what the residents are willing to pay for. And I couldn't argue that one. And so,
You're absolutely correct.
if it's a non-binding question, I'm all for it. And, you know, I'm not necessarily willing to offer up a binding question or offer up hundreds of thousands of dollars for anything at this point. But it gives this board guidance, and it doesn't mean we gotta do anything
Yes, it does.
immediately.
If they vote to it, you're going to have to. You're putting yourself in a place
I
where
have a
you're gonna
question.
have.
But-
So, if this is something that we bring to them, and we wanna see what it would cost for a company to do the surveying or whatever, can Ogle County give us statistics on what 911 calls and how much traffic they get through here?
Yes, years ago, when I was the, public safety and health trustee, I had a point of contact at Ogle County, and they were giving me that same data.
Okay.
I have not received it in quite a while, nor did I reach out and ask it. I know you're asking now, Sandy, I did
I found it.
have a company offer a quote for establishing a police department. I thought it was extremely above and beyond. Hillard Hines was the company.
Yep.
I don't remember the numbers.
So to do an assessment, issue identification, and recommendation for the Village of Davis Junction for a police force would be $41,000.
Yeah, to do an assessment on the needs of the village. That was just a survey, basically.
Find out
We never did
what
it.
we need.
No, and I think if we've got access to this gentleman, we might be able to get him to come in and help us. That was at the clerk's meetings.
Yeah, and if not him, his
So,
counterpart that's
Just,
in our
just
area.
as far as things go, on the whole point last week is, Jen was approached by Ogle County, and,
I got a phone call over the weekend, from a deputy asking if I was still on the board, and wanted to know what our, ordinances were, if we had any ordinances for the ATVs and stuff like that, they can go up and down the roads and whatnot, and I said, no, they can't. I said, we have ordinances, and they asked if there was a way that they could get this into, if we could get this into Ogle County's hands so they could reinforce some of these rules. So I looked it up, I printed it out, and I gave it to the deputy. So, I mean,
You know, that sounds so ridiculous to me because there are state statutes in the
Right, but
in
they
Illinois
can't-
Vehicle Code where they can write a person a ticket.
But
But
as we were
they- but
discussing earlier, though,
But, yeah, but like I said, what he said is it would help if they had our ordinances, if they were in town and they saw this, knew what.
The issue is, when it comes into, and I hate using the term subdivisions, when it comes into whether it's Ogle Crossing, Harvest Glen, or the original side of town, if it's a village road, the county has no authority to enforce the ordinances on our village road.
No.
However, ATVs and all that stuff are illegal on any state road.
Right.
With the exception,
Going to
if a
mowing.
local authority having jurisdiction passes an ordinance authorizing them. So technically, we could pass an ordinance that states you can drive an ATV or a UTV or a golf cart on our village roads, and it could be illegal in the county, and the county cannot enforce it on our roads. That's the position they're currently in. They do not have authority to enforce our village ordinance.
but if we do not have an ordinance allowing it, then they're just enforcing state law.
Not on our roads, is my understanding.
Yeah, no, they can enforce it.
Well,
If they're speeding, sure.
Ask Danny.
and it, again, we're right back down to what John was saying earlier, is we've got that handful of people who are making it difficult for everybody else.
Totally agree.
So we've always approached, and I've been sitting here for 15 years, and we've been looking at this for 15 years as if they can be similar to snowmobiles. The state of Illinois allows snowmobilers to ride their snowmobiles along the city streets to get to the trails. So we've always kind of approached it that same way. If somebody is going down the street and they're following the rules, they're stopping at stop signs, they're doing what they're supposed to do to get to the trails and ride, that's one thing. But when they're flying up and down the streets, blowing through stop signs, and just, for lack of better terms, being dangerous in what they're doing, to either themselves or to other people, that's something completely different. And that's what the point we're at. And I understand people are probably getting a little stir crazy with this whole being locked down at home thing, but it doesn't excuse it. I mean, granted, you know, I had a guy go down the street in front of my house on a golf cart with his child in the seat they had a flag on the back of the golf cart, and they were just puttering along down the street. And I've never had a problem with people doing stuff like that. It's when you see them literally flying up and down the street is when we've had problems in the past.
Well, it's the same way people
I've
drive
argued-
cars, it's the same.
I've argued this board to authorize the use of golf carts in this
Yes,
community.
you have.
And if you're not gonna authorize golf carts, there's no way in hell you're gonna authorize an ATV.
Right.
Because a golf cart is much slower and much safer.
But-
And the speed is much
But the
lower.
Illinois law, though, requires that if you do allow that, they have to be insured. They have to have, there's a state sticker for them, or something out there
The ATVs?
yeah.
Yes.
All you gotta have is brake lights.
There's things they have,
But they have to
meet.
Right, they
Correct.
have to be registered, they have to have a sticker, they have to have the,
However, I heard one
Sorry, that's
today
in
that
the
the
Illinois
decibel was
vehicle
way
code?
beyond my muffler of my car. It was loud and obnoxious.
But again, I've gotten the complaints too. I've had a lot of these conversations with folks about the ATVs in the last couple of weeks. And like I said, the one lady I was speaking to about the ATVs, and the police, that wasn't her only concern. I mean, there's abandoned houses that are being broken into and people being inside them, and how do you deal with that? And I'm like, call me, I'll come over and do it. I'll chase them out. I've done it before, I'll do it again. But if I'm not home, anybody else want to volunteer?
We've chased a few through the years.
We have.
Including Brenda.
It's not the greatest thing in the world to do, but, I mean, we do the same thing with solicitors. When they're out pounding on doors, they should be able to call any of us. We signed up for this, go chase them out of the town. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, call somebody else and get one of us out there to do it.
I don't disagree with that, however, there's a limitation on what we can do. I'm not gonna get in my vehicle and chase an ATV
No.
going down the road,
No, absolutely not.
so.
I mean, as far as people just being, you know, especially if they broke it into a house or something.
That's a sheriff issue.
It is, but by the time they get there, because it's not a high response thing. So, I think it's a great idea, put it out to the public, but I think we have to do a lot of education to them prior to that, whether it's by survey or whether it's by referendum. I think we gotta get some information out to the public, and we gotta come up with that information first. What are the options,
Yeah.
what are the costs? And I know Sandy had already started collecting some of that stuff from Cookie as far as what their costs are in Cortland, and we can look around. I had already talked to Vicky Traeger from,
Thompson.
Thompson, Illinois. They're a very small community also that has a police department, to find out what we're actually looking at, and, through the Mayor's Association, I think we can actually get a lot of these numbers. The one that comes up all the time is, everybody always points us to, is McChesney Park. Because, President Johnson in McChesney Park has a intergovernmental agreement with Winnebago County. They do not have their own police department. They actually use county deputies and county cars. We've tried this many times with the county, and William's laughing because he knows what's happened. We always end up getting the sheriff's department pointing at the county and the county pointing at the sheriff's department, and we stand there with everybody pointing at each other, and we never get anywhere.
And I would love to say, let's try that again, however.
I would love to too.
Experience, but it's gonna tell me it's
I have, I'd like to say I have a lot of faith in our sheriff, but I still don't understand why we never get the communication going. It just kinda dies, pointing. And unfortunately, we've done it way too many times to. But we can always try again. Sooner or later, we'll succeed. Are you bored yet, Dan?
Or Matt.
He's watching the
Matt?
No, I'm just remembering all the times you've gone back and forth with the county.
Hey, William, you have anything further? I'm good. All right. Jared has left. Anybody have anything on ordinance enforcement?
I do, actually, I'm gonna steal your question. The supervisors have kind of been talking about this since this has come to the board level, and the question is, at what involvement do you want employees on some of these issues? So if we see the ATV, are we supposed to say something? If we see somebody smoking in the park, do we say something? If we see somebody with a loose dog in the park, do we say something? And on some of those, we do. But at what level of involvement do you want the employees? And Fergie had asked me if the board had discussed that before, and I said, honestly, I don't think we
I don't think we want the employees dealing with ATVs, but I mean, if you see somebody smoking, just ask them to put it out.
Okay.
If they don't, I wouldn't carry it any further. Same with somebody on a leash,
And the
dog
dogs
on a
at
leash.
the park. No, then, you're coming up next anyway.
I think, ATVs ride through the park though too, occasionally, not as often, but mostly on the streets. There's but dogs is the biggest one, and potentially smoking when events start occurring. But, dogs is the biggest issue that we see a lot, and most people are cool when you just ask them to.
Well, and then again, if they don't pursue it any further, I don't think we're gonna get a great response. There's bigger things our law enforcement in the county probably has to deal with than us calling about an ATV driving through the park. But if it persists, you can always call, see maybe we can get somebody. But I wouldn't go out and engage them. Just, if you see them, tell them to get out of the park. If they don't, then try to get law enforcement.
Not the younger kids, though. I mean, I don't want younger kids.
No, just the adults.
All right.
Yes. So to that too, I don't know if you guys happen to notice or not, but, Harvest Glen LLC has put up no trespassing signs on Plat 10, where we recently had a Jeep, not a maroon one by the chance, it was a blue one, driving around out there. It was, they're trying to protect themselves as well. If somebody gets hurt out there, they could be sued, because they didn't have it posted. So now it is posted as no trespassing out in Plat 10 for the empty lots. So, I mean, it's, we're a litigious society. Right, Dan?
What's the score, Dan?
That's right.
Lawyers 5, village none. Anything further on ordinance enforcement? He's over there. John?
Nate?
I have to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. I spent $3,400 on flowers. I thought it was gonna be cheaper, so I apologize. I talked to William over the weekend and gave a heads up to John, so I just need, your, approval on that, oversight.
That happens when you're out, I'm just saying.
Well, I miscalculated. I calculated them as 4 inches. Some of them came as 6 inch, so, I thought it would be under that threshold, and then Scott from Gensler's called me and said, "Hey, I got your order," and I went and picked it up, looked at the bill, and went, "Shoot."
Is this in addition to the $5,000 that was in the packet?
No, it's $3,400 and
I thought it
10.
was 5,000.
Mm-mm.
No, it's just,
No, the 5,000 was mine, Chris.
So did we agree to do this, this way instead of as a emergency expenditure?
So, yes, I was contacted, and Nate very graciously apologized 100 times. And through the supervisors meeting, they thought they should run it through an emergency expenditure. I felt that it did not meet the criteria for an emergency expenditure, and that I offered my opinion that we put it through just, through the admin meeting, not in the warrant list, not to try and bury it or anything else like that. Just put it through as a resolution. Sandy would draft a resolution, put it under John get the heads up, let everyone vote on it.
Well, I think it's good, it's transparency.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we weren't trying to hide anything. I just did not feel it met the criteria for an emergency expenditure. And had a conversation with Nate that, just to do his due diligence in the future to make sure he meets the parameters set forth in the guidelines from the board on the $2,500 threshold. And being his first full year, it's an honest mistake in my opinion. I didn't think it was malicious or intent or anything. So I asked him to go through the normal process, draft a resolution, let John know, and then put it under John and go from there, so.
Well, I think it's
that
perfect.
was-
It sounds like we went right through what we needed to do to get it where it needs to be.
And I told him, I said, I'd be in favor of it. I'm pretty sure the board would be in favor of it. It's not like we're overpaying. We just ordered a little more beyond.
I miscalculated
Yeah.
the size, and,
Not a-
we did receive a 35% discount from Gensler, and it's from Gensler, which is, and
difference.
To William's
Scott.
point, you brought it up, you brought it to somebody who made the decision on how we
Sure.
need to proceed,
Do we have a
and we're
plan?
proceeding, so.
awesome.
Do we have a plan where you're putting the things, you know, I actually wanted to ask that with the trees, you know, I'd like to see where we're putting in the trees and where we're putting in the flowers,
Sure.
just in the future.
Not your-
Huh?
Well, as far as,
I didn't think it would be, I already got
as,
flowers, and a garden.
as far as, the annual flowers go, certainly the memorial area in front of Village Hall and Jeremiah Davis Park were the three sites that actually had beds to add annual flowers to, which I'll transition to perennial flowers.
Where's the last place?
Davis Park, Jeremiah Davis Park,
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
corner of Junction.
Christmas
and-
tree?
Yeah, where the Christmas tree is.
Across the-
And then as far as the trees, that segues into one other quick thing I wanted to mention. I will be bringing to the board probably some bids for tree removal. We have 67 dead, dying, diseased, white ash, primarily some green ash that are in bad shape, that, I'd like to bring out to bid to remove, and that's where we're planting the trees. So, we're planting about 45 trees this year, removing 60. Next year, we'll plant another 45 to get back up to replace those ash trees that we're removing. But, I'm gonna be working on some bid specs. I just wanna give you guys a heads up. I'll be coming, it'll probably be $20,000 to $30,000, depending upon alternates and if we do stump grinding. So, just wanted to let you know.
How many of our ash trees survived the emerald ash borer?
We're on it's thirds. A third of them are dead, a third of them are like half dead, and the other third are starting to die. So,
I know we spent a lot of money on treating them.
yeah,
And-
yeah, and they will eventually die, anyway. They're already declining to the point where I believe if it's two-thirds of the canopy, or half, I believe it's a third to half of the canopy is dying, the tree's not savable. White ash are a little more resistant, but they're usually like the second food of choice. Usually green ash are the first ones to go. But a large portion of our ash trees are in very, very, very poor shape.
Do you think we have a third that will survive?
No,
Oh, no,
they're all gonna die.
they're all gonna die.
Every ash will eventually die, is
Yeah.
my understanding.
I trim them once and replace them, and rather than treat them with chemicals normally. It's just more economical and easier. You'll spend $200 a tree every 2 years for perpetuity, in chemicals, as opposed to trimming it once for $200 and planting a new one for $200 and.
You remember the proposal to put rings around them and inject,
Mm-hmm.
you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So,
It bought you time, because if you didn't treat them, you would have probably had to remove all of them at once, which I'm proposing and I budgeted for, because I figured,
I think we did treat
We treated a bunch of them.
large amount of them at one point, but.
So that's where I am, and I can do alternates, so that way I can remove, it's just
What-
silly to have remove, you know, if there's 6 in a row and 4 of the 6 are, you know, dead or mostly dead, and the 2 are okay,
Get rid of 'em.
I'm just gonna get rid of all and then just put some new ones in.
What options are you replacing them with?
A large variety of stuff we don't already have. So over the winter, I did a tree inventory of all the trees that we have. We have 500 and some odd trees. And so I purchased species, that we don't have in the park. So scarlet oak, bur oak, catalpa, ginkgo, black cherry, some amelanchier, some serviceberry, some redbud, and some other stuff. So basically, things that we don't have. So every year, I'm gonna look at the tree inventory and look at, stuff and try to add. I'd like to do some more pines along the, western boundary for, windscreen and that kind of stuff for baseball games and that stuff. I just didn't get them this year. I wanted to do some hardwoods. Yeah. It's really wet, so I'm gonna have to go with some like white spruce, which are a little bit, or not white spruce.
Everything in Davis Junction is.
White arborvitae, which can tolerate the wetness a little bit better than some of the stuff, so. Certainly trying to, if there's any species you guys wanna see or anything, we did some crabs too, crab apples as well.
In the conversation you and I had, can you inform the board, one thing I had asked you to do with the budget that is in place and what you've already spent about the Tree City USA?
Oh, right, you had mentioned that if you have a budget of 10,000,
I thought it was.
something or other, whatever
We're
the,
there.
whatever the tree budget is that, you know, William had asked and we talked about Tree City USA and accreditation or whatever, so, I'm gonna look into that for the village and see
As
what
long
we can
as the
get.
village budgets a certain dollar amount,
Sure.
which we've already been budgeting for years, even since I was in the parks, it's sustained that same threshold. We can apply for the Tree City USA accreditation, from the state, I think it's the state. And they will give us a plaque and an award that we can maintain. And it's not adding an additional money to our budget, but it's something that I'd always wanted to do, never was able to accomplish due to the staff that was in place at the time. But Nate, even before I ever asked him, already met the threshold. So I asked him, since we've already met the criteria, to physically apply for the application. So.
I'm still impressed that he went and did an inventory without leaves.
I was wrong on a few, but for the most part, I got.
Pretty close.
Because I can hardly identify them by the leaves, so
I was-
not having them even better.
Well, I will say that it's unfortunately not super diverse. We're very heavy on, spruce and maple, so those are pretty easy to identify, and the ash being the third one. But there were some other ones that are, that stumped me, so there's some good stuff out there. There's some good trees out there.
I like the idea you're doing diversity, though.
Yeah,
A
it's
bunch of different trees.
Yeah, and, we got them locally from St. Alban, which is a great, resource, and so.
Good work. It's your motion.
I was just waiting.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and make a motion, resolution number 20-37, resolution approving and authorizing purchase of flowers from Gainesville Gardens for the Parks Department and Village Hall.
Second.
All right, so John makes a motion to approve resolution number 20-37, Williams seconds. Is there any discussion? Which we've already had. We should do motion second discussion. Roll call, please.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared is absent. John?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes,
Chris?
Present.
William?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-20.
Told you I wanna see a plan.
Oh, boy, here comes the fun one.
He's right there.
That's all I
I
have,
told you, like it.
Your Honor.
In the future, I wanna see a plan.
I like it.
I could've voted.
Anything further, John?
That's it, Your Honor.
Huh? Quit it. Chris?
Yeah, sure.
Something gotta loosen this thing.
Get rid of that in May.
Could've said you're imminent.
Oh, my goodness.
Next,
Go ahead.
here come the brakes.
It's,
Yes.
Making a motion, I make a motion to approve resolution 20-37, resolution.
38.
38, dude.
I was looking at the wrong one.
Yep.
What do you smoke?
20-38, a
should let him
resolution
go.
approving and authorizing execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Davis Junction and Scott Township.
Second.
Chris makes a motion to approve resolution number 20-38. Jen seconds. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, William.
So, I contacted, Matt and Corey about this project and, just inquired about, what the scope of the project would be, as well as the cost for the entire project. And I asked them to break it down as to what the village portion of it would be and what the township portion would be if they were to pay for it. And the entire project being about $78,540. That is the Edson Road portion and the North Junction Road portion. So the North Edson Road portion is $15,610. That's not the section in question. North Junction Road being $62,930. That's the section in question. Of the $62,930, North Junction Road is a total of 7,920 feet of village and Scott Township combined.
Township's 2,000-ish.
2,290 or 29.9%. And the village's portion is 5,630, which equates to paving North Junction Road of the 62,930. The village's portion is $44,743, and the township's portion is $18,186 and change. It's just my opinion. It is not fiduciary responsible for us to pay over $18,000 to pay for a road that is not ours.
You're not voting on that,
This is an intergovernmental agreement to allow us to pave their portion.
yes.
Yes.
You're not voting on the project. The project's already been approved.
I understand. I'm not willing to approve it.
I understand that you're not willing to, you've already voted for the project.
I'm not guaranteed I'm willing to,
You've already voted for the project.
I don't think we have.
Correction, that project has not been out for bid yet.
Thank you.
It's not going out for bid. We did approve the project. It's used for, it's the
I don't think we've awarded
it's
it.
the motor fuel tax.
That,
It doesn't go out for bid,
Has to go out for bid. Yes.
Matt?
It goes through the state.
No, it still has to go for bid.
Motor fuel tax is actually more strict. It physically has to go out for bid and more guidelines.
I asked about that earlier.
Vote on it.
Matthew?
Ask Matt.
Yep, the state, if you're using motor fuel tax, you've gotta go through the state just to get approval. Once they've approved the project, then the local entity, in this
Why
case,
is he
village,
not there?
we will go through the normal advertisement bidding process.
Hold on.
Fergie, you got anything?
He said that we do go through it.
Yes.
Which the state already gave approval for the
Yes,
motor
so
fuel
we have
tax.
received the state approval at this point. It has not gone out for bid. The only thing this board has approved so far is preparing the project to go for bid.
That's my
That is all that we have approved at this
All
point.
right, all right.
That's my understanding as well.
But I don't, where'd you come up with your 18,000? I don't think it's that
I
much.
got it from
Matt told you?
Corey Buck.
Corey gave you that?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, I just pulled up
Hold
that
on,
email.
hold on,
I'm
Matt.
just gonna forward it on to Crystal to
Rick.
get it.
Rick, Matt
Yes.
needs to unmute his phone.
Matt, unmute your phone.
Anybody got any food? I'm hungry.
Can you hear me, or?
I can hear you.
No, he should come up there, that's what she
He
wants.
shouldn't.
Can you unmute your, Zoom?
No, he needs to mute his Zoom and unmute.
Mute your Zoom, unmute your phone.
You got your
Was
email,
that-
Rick?
What's that?
You got your email up?
Yeah.
I will send you this email from Matt and Corey, breaking down the portion of the townships and the village responsibility and the cost thereof.
But that's not what we're voting on.
Crush this.
What's that?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but just so everyone's aware too, that's an engineer's estimate too, right, William?
Yeah, yes, I believe
Okay,
so.
all right, just making
Correct.
sure I wasn't missing
Not
something.
physical cost
All right.
as in,
Okay,
we've
all right.
done the work and paid the bill, correct?
Yep, gotcha.
This is our estimate of construction costs is, yes, estimate.
Let me put it onto a Word document, so I'm not throwing my email up for the public. If they want it, they can FOIA it.
So,
Matt, can you say something, please?
Yes,
There we go.
you hear me?
Yep.
yeah, we got you, man.
We got you now, you're all good.
Loud and clear, man.
Okay.
We always heard them.
Eastbound
yeah.
down.
Where he is? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah.
I need some cheese.
So Matt, the numbers I was projecting were from you and Corey, on
No,
an email
he
from.
sent it to me, that's what it's from, it's from him.
That's the
It's
big
part of
one.
the email from it. I'm sure it was Corey, because Corey did it
Yep.
for the
Yep,
paving.
Corey worked up the numbers.
I just sent it to you, Bruce.
Yeah, no, I got it, Matt sent it to me.
Okay.
So you're thinking that the intergovernmental agreement needs to say that they're gonna pay?
They're not gonna
For their
pay.
portion.
So
I'm not willing to
either we
pay.
don't do it, they're not gonna pay. It was hard enough to get this intergovernmental agreement from them, which cost them nothing, than it is to get the rest.
My,
So, hold on, so they're not gonna pay anything. If the board doesn't want to do their portion, then don't do their portion, that's up to them. I think it's stupid to have a portion stop, pick back up, stop, and pick back up. But it's up to this board if they want to, not do the township's portion, then they don't have to do the township's portion. I don't drive North Junction Road, and I don't personally care. So if you wanna have another ragtag project, where we do it half-assed, like we did the last one on North Junction Road, where we have 3 different surfaces and people come in and complain, that's fine. And I'll go with that.
I don't disagree. I think it would be foolish for that road to be paved and then paved, stopped, paved again, and then stopped again. My position's always been that the section where we're gonna stop, those residents should have an opportunity to annex into this village to have a new paved road. But if they don't wanna annex in, why should they receive the benefit of
Because it's
of a
not
new,
just.
let me finish, you wouldn't let me talk.
All right.
Why should those residents receive the benefit of a newly paved A2 coating and a future asphalt pavement without paying into the coffers of this village that is gonna foot the bill for that project? It's not, I understand the position the township's in, but that doesn't mean that this village should take over ownership of it. We have intergovernmental agreements with that township about plowing of that road, as well as Big Mountain Road, if I'm not mistaken, and we don't go pave that road either. We plow that road, but we don't pave it. We don't go fixing rooftops of our neighbors because we don't like the way it looks. I mean, it's not fiduciary responsible, in my opinion, for this board to spend $18,000 to pave a road that's not ours. And that's my position.
Well, let's just vote.
Where?
Let's just vote.
Well, first, doing the road, the A2 coverage, which really isn't the paving, we saw what the paving would cost. The A2 coverage is for the people who drive the road, not just for the people who live in front of it. And for the vast majority, is it not the vast majority of the residents that drive the road?
No.
It's not? None of our residents drive the road?
Residents drive our road. This village has done no traffic study to determine the amount of residents that go use that road, though.
And it's not the only way to get in and out of the village, so.
No, I agree. I said I don't drive it at all. But if we're gonna pave a portion of it, and the small portion in between ours, to keep the whole thing in better shape, it seems silly not to do it.
I think there's been many things proposed to this board to the tune of $18,000 that we've neglected to do or put off that we could purchase better than the township portion of that road. I.e., Parks could use a commuter vehicle to go buy supplies. The office could use a commuter vehicle to go buy supplies. George could use a new vehicle to go do his work to the tune of $18,000 better than
Well,
paying for a portion of road that's not ours.
we've had this discussion as this board, as this sitting board before. that whether or not, how we were gonna approach this with the portions that are outside of the village's limits. And one of the things that we had discussed then was what you actually brought up, William, was do we ask those people, you know, if you want us to do that road, you know, you'd have to annex to the village, and you have to start that process. We can't start that, the actual people there
And
have
I'd be
to.
for that. If they wanted to annex in, then so be it. I would be happy to spend that dollar amount.
I agree.
And-
I don't, I have an issue with paving the area that's not in the village. That's just,
I've stated my piece.
the people that are in the township, the people that are in Davis Junction, pay money to the township. They have money in their budget. Whether it's budgeted for this or not, I don't know. But they should have their own funding to take care of this, and our intergovernmental agreement should probably state that this is the portion we're paying, this is the portion you're paying, or we're not doing your portion.
They're not gonna pay, and if this board doesn't wanna pay for it, then we'll just eliminate that portion from it and call it a day. I don't.
Well, and it's up to the board. I don't get to vote. I mean, you've got voting members.
Well, you'll
sitting
get a
here.
vote if we're tied, so it won't matter, but.
I will vote if we're tied.
I'm just saying that if you don't wanna do it, if the board doesn't wanna do it, which when I proposed it on February the 18th and it was in it, they probably should have said so, and I would have taken it out then. The township's portion, I wouldn't have pursued an intergovernmental agreement. I don't.
Well, I think, Chris, can I interrupt for a second?
Go ahead.
If that's all right? I think the reason it was separated from the consent agenda was for that reason itself. That's why it was discussed, that people did want to talk about it separately. So that's why it was removed from the consent agenda. So that's why it was removed.
No, that's today. I'm talking about on February the 18th, when we actually, when I discussed it with the board, except for William, because William wasn't here.
If it was discussed February 18th, it was a day that I was working, and
I know.
I may not have participated.
No, you weren't here.
Okay.
It said you're absent. I've read the minutes of it. It
Okay,
said you were
and
absent.
so be it. And I apologize. I mean,
That's all
I
right,
meant
but
to proceed.
no other board members seem to have an issue with it. But if they don't,
And they might not. Maybe we can take it to a roll call.
Well,
That's what we're here for.
If I can chime in there too,
By
so
all
like,
means.
I'm just gonna say, so when we're talking about nobody else had a problem with it or whatever, and nobody discussed it or whatever, there's a difference between having an intergovernmental agreement with another, entity, and then having an agreement with them to be able to do work, as opposed to having an agreement to do it and pay for it and everything else. So,
My question, Dina, would be, on February 18th, was there a dollar amount associated with the project? The board might not have been aware of how much it was gonna cost to do the township's portion.
well, that's what I'm saying. There's a big difference in having a conversation and implying that the board didn't remark on it,
I think,
as opposed to having
Then
as opposed to having a conversation and saying, hey, it's gonna cost us $18,000 to take care of, the, other entities' part. So, at the time, when you talk about it, and again, February has been a while, and there's been a lot that's happened since February, but when you talked about it in February, to my knowledge, and again, don't quote me, because I certainly haven't gone back and read all the minutes over the past 2 months, but I don't recall there being a dollar figure discussed. When you guys talked about an intergovernmental agreement or the idea of that, I've always looked at an intergovernmental agreement to be able to work together as two government units
Sure.
and doing it that way. I've not necessarily always looked at it as, hey, we're going to pay for everything. So I apologize if that's been inconvenient in pursuing that, but
well,
things change.
I did mention that the total amount of the project.
right.
And I did say that the township wasn't willing to pay for any. Did I tell you what the price was? I didn't know what the cost of the township's portion was. I did know that it was about 25% of the project. And
there's nothing wrong with that, Chris. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing wrong with other people having an opinion about it now either.
So yes, just to clarify, that we did have a cost of the project
Yeah.
back in February.
Yeah.
We just didn't know what the split was.
I've stated my piece. I'm ready to move forward.
I guess.
Any further discussion?
Can I
We have a
withdraw it?
motion, you can withdraw. We have a motion and a second on the table.
I'll just withdraw it.
Daniel, can you just withdraw his motion?
It's your call as chair.
If you want to withdraw, I'll let you withdraw it.
It's withdrawn.
Motion has been withdrawn. Anything further, Chris?
Nope.
Dina?
All right, I've got quite a few things. So, on the first one, I think we talked about it last week. I don't know if it was last week or the week prior, in terms of doing the 50% off with regards to the water and wastewater or sanitation part of the water bill. The garbage will still be on there as the full price of the garbage, but transitioning into 50% off of the wastewater, sanitary sewer, garbage collection payment through June. So, I'll go ahead and make a motion, and if there's discussion, so be it. I make a motion to approve resolution number 20-39, a resolution approving temporary utility billing relief in response to ongoing COVID-19 public health emergency, including discounted water and sewer charges for the residential utility services customers through June billing period, and suspending disconnections for water, sanitary sewer, and garbage collection non-payment through June.
I'll second.
Dina makes a motion to approve resolution number 20-39, Jen seconds. Discussion.
Only question I want to have, we are going to state beforehand how we're proceeding with this, correct? The clerk?
Dina and I have actually already prepared something that'll go up, tomorrow. I just wanted this to pass first. And it does say that the village board has discounted residential water and sewer billing fees incurred during the month of May by 50%. All residential customers will receive half off the water and sewer portion of their utility bill. Regular billing will resume for fees incurred during the month of June. If you need payment assistance, contact City Hall.
I like it.
I'm just waiting for this to pass.
I think
Did you want to mention anything in there about that the garbage rates would remain at 100, being charged? 'Cause we've actually waived those in the past, so I didn't hear anything.
So normally it says that all utility service fees, and this time we specifically limited it to just water and sewer fees.
You're gonna get questions.
I think that was the intent of the board last week, unless I'm mistaken.
Well,
Do you
no, I
want
mean,
additional language added then? that
I
says-
just wonder if we want additional language saying this does not, you're still gonna pay your
Include garbage.
because you're gonna get that question.
The ordinance, or the resolution, I thought would have stated it, but however we word it in the PSA.
If you can come up with a clever way, by all means do it. If
Well,
not,
I'll just
put it out
simply
like you
add
did.
that after the discount made by 50%, I'll just add, this does not include garbage.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah,
Or garbage will be billed at regular rates.
yeah. I'll just put a comma and add some in there.
All right, so still got the motion and second, any discussion? Roll call.
Jared is absent. John?
Yes.
Dina? Dina?
Dina?
Yes?
Chris?
Yes.
William?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Motion passes 8:39.
All right. The other thing is, that's been, a conversation for quite a while, is about the water tower and painting and the rehabilitation of that. And we did get, the bid information back, and so I'm hoping everybody took a look at it, but I'll kind of go from there a little bit. And there were two, I guess I'm gonna say processes, for lack of better wording, and Matt, you let me know if that's the worst wording in the world, but literally, there was a base bid that basically, allows for repair, damage stuff, and going in and painting and so forth. But how I look at the base bid, if you look at all the details on it, that's something that's gonna last about average 5 to 10 years. And then the other thing is too, with the base bid, there's, the way I read it, more concerns about the fact that there's like a clear coat on the water tower anyways. So you can't necessarily just paint over that, because that's a different type of coating. So the paint that they would use to cover the water tower is not necessarily, you have to really, I'm gonna use the word sandblast off of the water tower before you can actually put the paint back on there, and it would adhere to the surface. So the base bid is simply something that's gonna last us on the short term, like, 5, 10 years down the road to get us to that point. If you go to the alternate bid, which is, I'll be very honest, that's the bid that we're recommending. And so like right now, like that one, and yes, it's substantially more, but that bid itself does everything to the water tower and then would get us out another 20 to 25 years. And so then it includes like everything in terms of getting that clear coat off, getting everything down, repairing everything, painting, sandblasting, doing everything, and then getting us another 20 to 25 years down the road. So just to kind of, I'm assuming everybody already looked at that in the packet. I'll make a motion and then everybody can discuss however they'd like to do so. And I apologize, I have to get back to my wording because it's, so I'll make a motion. Wait a minute, hang on a second. I gotta get the dollar amount. I'm going back and forth.
Dina?
I'd make a yeah,
No, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna make it for you. So
Oh,
that
no.
you, but go ahead.
Because I have like 3 windows open here, sorry. So like, I was gonna make a motion to go with the alternate bid and award the project for the water tower to GNL Sandblasting and Coatings LLC in Shelbyville, Tennessee, in the amount of, I believe it's $412,850.
I'll second.
All right, so Dina makes a motion to approve the bid, the alternate bid, and award the project to redo the water tower to GNL Sandblasting and Coatings LLC in the amount of $412,850. Williams seconds. Discussion.
Only thing I want to clarify, with
Sure.
Brett and maybe Brenda, I think we were anticipating, I don't want to say budgeting, but anticipating anywhere from 400 to 500,000 to do this project into this budget year, right? And we were the intention was to pull from capital reserves.
Correct. Yes,
Correct.
we're gonna pull from capital reserves, yes.
Thank you. So this is not an unexpected expenditure.
Correct.
Correct.
Thank you.
Sure do like the way we've been doing our budgets for the last 2 years.
Totally agree.
'Cause
And
it sure
makes it a lot
makes
simpler.
things, it sure makes things easier.
Are we hanging beef in here?
All right.
And I do want to say, like, not discussion piece, but I do want to say thank you to Matt, because obviously this is, a company that they did quite a bit of research to find out a little bit more about the company, because we have not worked with them before and we have not used them before. So, in going through the summary, Matt, I really appreciate all the research you guys did to find out a little bit more history about them and the quality of their work. So thank you for that.
Not a problem.
Matt, are they able to do the work this year?
Yeah.
There is one slight hiccup, is that we had to give 120 days notice to one of the tenants on the tower. And so we gave that notice about, a month ago. So we've got some time for that to pass.
Are you kidding me?
No,
That's right.
I'll let you
One
guess
box
when you
ticking
finish.
on that.
I wonder how that slid into our legal realm.
Yeah,
I think we just bolt it and let it fall off.
yeah, so there is one tenant, the other tenants have been great to work with, but,
That's personal opinion, not village opinion.
uh-huh.
That's still understood.
We still have motion second and discussion. Any discussion left? Roll call.
John?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Chris?
No.
William?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared?
Not here.
Oh, absent, thank you.
Well, he won't vote.
I was
Motion
busy writing
passes
the note down.
8:45. Still you, Dina.
The next one, I'm gonna refer to Fergie on this one.
Fergie.
Your contaminated mic.
Yeah, basically, this is a piece of equipment out at the wastewater lab. It's a glorified refrigerator, very, very expensive refrigerator, but it's an incubator. It holds very tight temperatures for some of our tests, our BOD tests. That's why they kind of refer to it as a BOD incubator. The original one, this was back when we built the plant. It is no longer doing its job. Basically, we could have a tech come out, and the one we currently have is a huge one. It's like taller than a refrigerator, which was great when we had septic haulers. We could have more bottles in there. We no longer have septic coming in, so we can potentially scale down to a smaller size, if, depending on the price. So instead of bringing a tech in and having them go through everything, this is a 10, 11-year-old item. It's served its life, it's done its job, and I don't want to put money into it, and then 2 weeks later, we need to dump more money, so we're just basically going to go ahead and pull the pin and replace it.
Not
I
to
gotta believe
interrupt
after,
you,
Hold the thing.
not to interrupt you,
Yes.
there's no proposal or anything in the packet. How can we make a motion with no company to award to?
For not to exceed, because we're looking at different ones, trying to find the best fit for us. So we just did a not to exceed, because if I can fit a big one in there for that price, I will. Otherwise, we're gonna narrow it
Didn't think we could legally do
down.
that without stating a company that we're buying from.
Dan, we make it not to exceed without having a company listed.
Sorry, I was on mute.
What the hell?
I wish you could see Dan.
You can, but I'm not readily familiar with your existing purchasing policies that are in place. You guys are more work with those all the time and might know, be more familiar than I am.
Is this gonna be anything that's gonna severely impact you over the next 2 weeks?
We need to move on it very quickly, yes, we have,
So I would say if we can find something, you find something we need, approach it through William, if it's within the next 2 weeks, and we'll look at doing it as an expenditure that we have to pick up. But I would agree that without a name on there, we probably don't wanna just randomly put it out there.
So we'll treat it as an emergency expenditure, is what you're saying?
If you're telling me it's an essential function of the lab, and if it's broken,
it absolutely is, yes.
So it would be an emergency.
I would think that would fit the criteria, so
So,
yes, I guess.
okay.
I guess, I mean, if that's the case,
So
then we can proceed as
William-
forward the way it's listed.
Okay.
So you're willing as finance
Yeah,
to proceed?
I am.
Okay.
Dan's explanation, fits my concern, I guess. And between Brett's assumption that it's the essential function of the plant, I'm good.
We got legal and finance on board, so
Okay, yep,
we'll move forward.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so then do I need to make a motion for that or no?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a wastewater treatment plant lab incubator in the amount not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
Dina makes a motion to approve wastewater treatment plant lab incubator, not to exceed $5,000. John seconds.
I got it.
Discussion.
Thanks for the clarification.
Roll call.
Dina,
Yes,
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Jared's absent, John.
Yes.
Motion passes 8:49.
Thank you.
Floor is still yours, Dina.
What did we do for you?
I think I've done enough.
Does anybody have anything on economic development?
No.
Okay. Public?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
William makes a motion to adjourn. John seconds. All in favor?
Thanks.
Aye.
Any opposed, same
Aye.
sign. We are adjourned at 8:50.